From being a hard sell ahead of the record-making bout to Kell Brook calling him a surgeon in the ring. Here's why Terence Crawford will dominate Errol Spence Jr. It's going to be a bout for the ages. You know a matchup's good when it's got the odds split right down the middle. And as far as close calls are concerned, Crawford against Spence Jr.'s as close as it gets. The fighters are totally aware of this. Terence has called their showdown the biggest fight in the last decade or so. What makes it all even more exciting is that Spence and Crawford are still in their prime and have been running through their opponents like the Flash, so it's about time they ran into each other. Their bout's scheduled to happen on the 29th of July 2023 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and everything will be on the line. One of the two will have to walk out with a loss on their perfect record. Going into the fight, Crawford's got his fists around the WBO title, and Spence has WBC, WBA, and IBF belts to his name. Now, the two are super talented, but if you take a look at the odds, Bud's leading. Both fighters started out with even odds at -112 for moneyline at FanDuel Sportsbook. But things took a turn, with Terence being slightly favored. As of June 2023, Crawford was the favorite with a -128, with Spence close behind at +100. Odds makers have also weighed in on the chances of there being a knockout. Crawford's got better odds for winning with a KO or TKO inside the distance, with +360, while Errol trailed behind at +550. The gambling odds can shift as more people place their bets, but judging by how it's going so far, it could still be close. Of course, this viewpoint can add another layer on the whole experience, but it's pretty hard to hedge your bets against Crawford's sleek style. The numbers agree with this, by the way. You see, Terence has got more activity, while Spence has only been under the spotlight twice since late 2019. It's simple math, you guys. More pro fighting experience versus career breaks due to injury. It's not hard to pick a winner. And Bud's looking good. It's not the best idea to rely on just betting numbers, right? So let's look at the stats to see why Crawford's got the edge. You've got to give credit where it's due, and the records of both gentlemen in the matchup are exceptional. The Truth's got a 28-fight win streak with 0 losses, and Crawford's got 39 wins with no taste of defeat. It's an admirable number for both, but Terence has had more fights, so he's more experienced. Spence has got the age advantage, but Crawford's only got about a couple of years over him. What he lacks in age, Terence makes up for it with his continuous activity in the ring. Also, he's got a reach of about 74 inches, while Errol can reach up to 72 inches. This difference might not sound like a lot, but a talented fighter can take that 2-inch difference and weaponize it. We've all seen Crawford in the ring, and he totally utilizes it. Apart from obvious physical factors, a fighter's style is really important. Now, Spence is typical in the ring, but his combo of body punching, aggressiveness, and power can be deadly. Add on to that some fundamental footwork, and you've got a mighty opponent. But he isn't exactly a pressure fighter. Crawford's got the southpaw stance, and he can shift stances like a magician, which, coupled with his mastery of range, makes him just the kind of guy who could take on Spence. The thing about Terence is that he doesn't mindlessly throw punches. Instead, he's effective and wears his rivals down with a cleanly orchestrated offense. Don't believe me? Just ask Porter. Now, Sean Porter's been at the receiving end of both these powerhouses. He said that Spence can do some heavy-duty damage because his punch is like a thud to the spirit. Just off the speed. Don't think he's slow. It's just that Errol's technique can wear fighters down. Speaking to KO Artist Sports, Showtime shared that as the rounds go on, Junior just gets harder to stand up to. But with Terence, things are different. Porter said that he comes for you out of nowhere. And it's the speed that gets you. The guy should know. He's caught some heavy ones from both the hard hitters. But when asked to pick who he thought was going to win, Porter was pretty clear. He said on his podcast that he'd picked a winner after being uncertain for a while. And if he had to bet his life on it, he'd put all of his money on Crawford. His guest for the podcast at the time, Roy Jones Jr., said that he'd take Sean's word for it, since he was one of the most qualified men to make that call. Speaking of qualified people who can give a prediction for this bout, there's also Amir Khan. King is one of the men who had to tough it out with Crawford breathing down his neck when the pair fought at Madison Square Garden in 2019. He was stopped at just 6 rounds, but the two became friends later, when Khan trained with Crawford and his team as they prepared for the showdown against Kell Brook. Having spent all that time together, Amir's got an insider's perspective on the kind of fighter Terence is. And speaking to Fight Hub, he had his buddy as the winner against Spence. He said that it was gonna end in stoppage though, because Errol's really tough. But that isn't gonna do any help because Khan added that Crawford can break down a fight like it's nobody's business. And he remembered that when he was in the ring with him, Terence would make him miss by inches, even when he threw combinations. All in all, Bud can lean back and catch whatever's coming at him with perfect timing. Amir also added that Crawford was one of the best fighters he'd ever seen, and he reminded him of Andre Ward, who's all caught up in this conversation too. Son of God told FightHype.com that the key to victory in the upcoming pound-for-pound showdown was going to be adaptability. He said that Crawford leads more than he punches because he knows he can land one, which is why he can make his opponents do some funny things. Ward added that Spence had some tricks up his sleeve too, but he was curious which of the two will make an adjustment once that whistle blows. They'll be in deep water for sure, and it's going to be a test too, so the answers will be hard to come by until they fight. Now, Ward hasn't picked a winner, but if he thinks that adaptability will define things, well, that's great news for Terence. The Nebraskan has become one of the most complete boxers throughout his fighting career. He's got a bag of methods, and no matter what kind of opponent stands before him, he's got countermeasures lined up. So, with all that versatility, if something needs to be done, you can count on Terence to go ahead and do it. He isn't fazed by a change of style and can adapt very quickly. This ability comes from Crawford's stunning boxing IQ. Tim Tszyu, who holds the WBO's interim light middleweight title as of June 2023, said that Terence will win because his IQ's about 3 levels above Spence's. Carl Froch, the former professional boxer, chimed in and said that he favored Crawford because he was older and wiser. There was no doubt in his mind that Errol was also talented, but he said that Terence was a little more special, which is why it's a 51 to 49% fight. Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest in the sport, has also picked Bud as the winner as, according to him, he's got the style advantage over his opponent. Pac-Man said that it's going to boil down to how the two prep for the bout. Teofimo Lopez, the fighter with multiple world championships, is also on Team Crawford because of his ring generalship and experience. Oscar de la Hoya, the former professional boxer who won 11 world titles, shared that Errol's got a one-dimensional approach, and Crawford can easily take him apart because he's got many tools and is versatile, with punches and bunches and combinations ready to go. Terence could be a little too much for Spence, and Kell Brook agrees. Brook's been there and done that against both Crawford and Spence. In an interview with Boxing Social via Free Bets, he said that Errol has the stronger hit, but Bud has the element of surprise. His shots come like a pop, and they can make the lights go out. He said that styles make fights, and Crawford's a switch hitter who comes into the ring like a surgeon. His precision makes him a great fighter and a great finisher, which is why Terence is the one Kell's betting on. He also added that since the Truth hasn't been as active due to his car crash and injuries, that it is going to have an effect too. But overall, even though they're both great fighters, Terence might just be too accurate and brutal for Spence. So from Kell Brook calling him a surgeon in the ring to being a hard sell ahead of the record-making bout, that's why Terence Crawford will dominate Errol Spence Jr.